Well, it's 10:01, so I'll go ahead and get started. Thank you everybody for joining us for the third installment of our Mountain Fire Ag Recovery series. We'll be recording this webinar and making it available on YouTube along with our other editions of this series. So if you participate, then your participation will be memorialized. It'll also be available for everyone to share with people in their community who weren't able to make it today. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the Ag Commissioner. Corinne, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
I can.
Okay, perfect. So I just wanted to thank everyone for putting this webinar together. The feedback has been great. I think it's been very, very helpful to share lessons learned and to work as a community to help each other get through yet another natural disaster that we've all gotten far too familiar in experiencing. So I'm going to let Phil do the update on our damage assessment, but I just wanted to give kind of another final pitch for those of you who have been impacted to please fill out our agricultural assessment form. These damage reports are really important if we're trying to meet thresholds to get any kind of assistance. But also it's important, like some people are going directly to the USDA Farm Service Agency, which is great, except that locally we need to know the information as well. And this is why it's important. For instance, in the Thomas Fire, several cattle operators were impacted, and they were able to get emergency hay provided for their cattle. We know there's been quite a bit of rangeland impacted by this fire, and that these cattle operators are probably going to have not have feed for their cattle for at least 6 months. And so it's important for us to be able to know that so that we can advocate and try to find local ways to procure relief. Now, I don't want to say that and make a promise I can't keep, but it is important for us to have this information so we can advocate for you. In the case of the Thomas Fire, there was a senator who provided assistance. This is something that we can take to, reached out to Animal Services, and they're talking about if we can get the cattle numbers, we can talk about not necessarily like a GoFundMe, but they have opportunities where people can donate money, and that money could go towards purchasing hay for cattle. So that's just one example of why this information is important. So again, just please, if you haven't filled out that damage assessment form, please do, and I'll let Alec give us an update on what the damages have been so far.
And I will probably also plug, please turn in your forms, because at this time, we're estimating that only 21% of affected growers have reported to us. We know that there is some non-overlap between the areas that were surveyed by our office and forms that have been turned in. So we are transitioning into collating those numbers. But in terms of grower reported, all told, in terms of infrastructure, livestock, and then crop damage and loss, we have, as of yesterday, reached $12.9 million worth of damage. So please fill those forms out. Please plug them at every opportunity. If people need help filling them out or have questions, they can call either office. We have staff that can explain them, help submit them or turn them in, because we are looking at doing a reminder last call so we can send numbers to the Farm Service Agency and hopefully get additional funding for programs released.
Great. Wow, I'm double on the screen. I'm on there and then also in the video of your version. It's like a black hole. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to update from the Ag Commissioners, or are we ready for the next person? You're ready? Mm.
Yeah, I think we're ready.
Okay, great. Louise Lampara, do you want to add anything? I might have caught her off guard. Let's go to Dave Ward. Are you ready to present?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Dave Ward, County Planning Director. On our end, for the county, there's been a lot focused on the debris removal. Some of you may have participated in the Wednesday community meeting. Charles Ginkle, an environmental health division, has been the primary team working on those aspects of contracts and getting things in order to get the debris removal going. Lot of effort just to share with you to move that forward as expeditiously as possible. They are not at this meeting because they're still coordinating things to get everything in place with the Board of Supervisors, the upcoming meeting on December 17th. There may be something even next week. I'm not in all those details, but just to let you know that that has been the priority to get that underway and moving forward, as we know that's the first step in the recovery process. Beyond that, the agencies involved in the development review for the county, which includes planning, building and safety, various divisions in public works, environmental health as it relates to sanitation, septic. We have all been meeting, fire too, sorry, as part of that effort, and refining how the recovery and also the assessor's office has been involved. So we've had 2 meetings already, and we're focused on a third on December 16th coming up, where we are working to refine a fact sheet on key issues that will be important for those rebuilding. Primarily, this focus has been on residential structures so far, but I'm hoping to toggle that a little bit more. And I'm hoping here today, along with Corinne and the Ag Commissioner, is trying to understand more from the ag properties, the level of loss and what needs you may have related to your own recovery beyond residential structures. Obviously, the residential structures that we're working on with the other divisions, those will apply most likely to your properties as well. But there may be things that are more focused on your agricultural business. And so that would be something that planning, working with the Ag Commissioner's office, we'd like to get more information on how we can assist. So I'm available on that, but just let you know there's still weekly meetings going on as we dust off from the Thomas Fire and make adjustments for this time around. But I will share with you, this is moving at a much faster pace than the prior events as we learn to do things better and more efficiently from where we were before. So just a lot of heavy lifting across the county, and we're here to support you as best we can. Thank you.
Great. And then I wanted to follow up because I know I know that CoLab, Luis has unfortunately is ill and lost her voice, but I know that she's been working on the behalf of victims of the fire to identify some opportunities for permit streamlining, and that you have been extremely accessible to all of us sort of industry advocates, and we want to thank you for that. And then also kind of let the community know if there are any issues and you're not comfortable going straight to the county. CoLab is available to work through any of the permitting issues that people might run into as they're taking the lead on trying to identify areas from the industry point of view and elevate those to Dave Ward's group for permit streamlining. So wanted to throw that out there, and also thank you, Dave, for your availability. Maddie and Ben, I want to welcome you. Would you be comfortable jumping on and introducing yourselves and giving us an update?
Sure. Yes, Ben Phelps, so supervising appraiser, assessor's office. And
I'm
Maddie?
Maddie Hendrick. I'm a chief appraiser in the assessor's office.
Yeah, so we just wanted to provide a brief update. So on our end, we are still collecting calamity reassessment claims. We of course staffed the recovery center, and we collected a lot of reassessment claims there. We're in the process of logging all of those and starting our reassessment process. For any individuals with a loss that have not filed a claim yet, we would strongly urge you to do so. We have the claim available on our website. With that, for the mountain fire, it also includes a tax deferment request if the property damage is significant. There's some requirements on that form, but that would be due before December 10th, delinquency date of the first installment. So strongly encourage anybody with significant damage to submit that to us so we can relay that information to the tax collector. So we will be processing all of those claims, trying to work through all of those reassessments as quickly as possible. Our goal at this time is to have all of them done before the second installment of the tax bill, the annual tax bill. So we will be working towards that. We'll also do a bit more outreach to try and capture property damage specifically related to the agricultural properties. And, orchards that were damaged, we will be reaching out to those taxpayers within the fire zone to try and get a better idea of the scope of damage within orchards and just some agricultural areas. But again, strongly encourage anyone with damage in excess of $10,000 to file a calamity claim, and don't necessarily have to wait for us to reach out to them on that. We'd prefer to have everybody submit claims that has experienced damage so we can start working on their reassessments as quickly as possible. Is there anything else?
Just really quick,
Sure.
this is the first I've heard of this, so I'm sure it's the first a lot of people have heard of it because I've been on a lot of the meetings. Is there a link that you could share to the forms, or how could we get the information out to the community, especially with the deadline less than 4 days away?
Yeah, we'll put the link in the chat. I think I saw somebody post that, and then that would be available to share as needed. And the deadline, that's just for the tax deferment. That's not for filing the claim form.
Right.
And then if somebody had damage to unpermitted like outbuildings and things like that, would that be something that they should report if they're going to seek to rebuild in a more like formal way? Or is it only for sort of your official structures?
So with that, I would say they should still submit the calamity claim, just because the fact that it's permitted doesn't necessarily mean that it hasn't been assessed. So if we have an assessed value for it and it's being accounted for in their assessment, they would be eligible for calamity reassessment. We would take that value off. It's possible we are unaware of that structure and we don't have an assessment, in which case there wouldn't be any relief provided because there's no assessed value for that. But it is our job to inventory as best we can all structures on the property, permitted or not. So so it'd be a case by case scenario, but they could still file that calamity claim, and if we do not have a value for it, then it would just not warrant an adjustment.
So there's no downside to putting it on your claim if you're not really sure what's been assessed and what hasn't, because I know we have a kind of a issue with non-conforming lots where people have a lot of things going on over 100 years, and they don't really necessarily know what is and isn't included in some of the more official documentation.
Yeah, I mean, the assessor's office is not a policing agency, so we're not concerned with whether or not something was permitted. And also, the calamity claim form, you're really just giving us your contact information and the property address. With these, we're going to come out to your property on an individual basis, and we'll meet with you, go over what our records show, go over the damage, and go from there. So it's a very individualized process.
Okay, great.
And I might just add on to that as far as the building division and for planning, so for zoning approval and building permit approval, the fact that it was an unpermitted structure and it's lost, that unpermitted from a planning standpoint or a building permit standpoint would be gone. There wouldn't be a enforcement mechanism because if it was unpermitted and it's gone and it's no longer there. However, if it's the fact that it occurred on your property, there still may be some value, just like Maddie and Ben are talking about. So I think you should still identify that. But there's not going to be a code enforcement component if it's been lost.
Do you think that like if something was just damaged but not lost and you need to do some repairs, would this be like a mechanism toward conforming?
But
Or toward-
potentially, particularly on the building permit side of things. So that's where, if you have questions and you're hesitant to say, I don't know, Dave, whether I still want to share, then provide that information through Maureen, provide that information through Louise, right? We're
Yeah.
happy to engage. I don't need to know the property, right? Just to give you information, we want to make sure everyone's informed to the best of our ability, and then you can make your decisions on how you want to proceed.
Great. I think that that's one of the values of these kinds of conversations. Like, thank you, Maddie and Ben. It's like we're able to ask questions that maybe people would be shy to ask on an individual basis or don't come to their mind, or they make an assumption. And really appreciate you joining the call so that people can take advantage of the tax deferment if appropriate. So really appreciate you.
Absolutely. And the last thing I'll note on that, so we did talk about the December 10th for the tax deferment, but it's a 1-year deadline from the date of calamity to actually file a calamity claim. So there's 2 separate deadlines. Of course, the sooner the better, but there is to file the calamity claim itself for assessment purposes. They have 1 year to do that.
Yeah, when we made the form, we just included the tax deferment component. It's really for the tax collector. But because we wanted to make it as streamlined as possible, that's why we included it on our calamity claim form for this particular incident.
Great. All right. Are you happy to turn it over to the next speaker? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah, we'll
Kat?
put the link in the chat.
Great, thank you. Kat, Merrick, are you available to jump in?
Yes, but I think you have to make me, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great, sorry. Kat Merrick, totally local VC and the Local Love Project. We're currently working with those that lost their home or severe damage. We're also working with, we've done some outreach to our farm community to see, trying to get the exact number on how many farm workers were impacted financially. And from there, we're already started our packs, where we pack not only food items, but also essential items to help bring their total income down each month, what they have to spend on groceries and that. And we're doing a gift card drive right now, hopefully to be able to start giving them grocery gift cards at least as well. Those are hopefully going to start within the next week or 2. And we'll keep doing them till we don't have any more. We normally do it in Oxnard at the Swap Meet for Justice. We work a lot with, and we hope to be working again with UndocuFund, Friends of the Farm Worker. For farms that their workers are back to work, we're more than willing to come out there as well. We'll bring our trucks when they have their break or at the end of the day, and we can do the distributions directly to them. I wish we had a lot to offer our local farmers and ranchers. We've got about 120 shovels, buckets, things like that left, and we are looking for donations of equipment. So if somebody needs something, let us know. And we've been amazed at the things we're able to come up with that are donated, and it's all new items. So please let us know. And our hearts go out. We lost our ranch in Thomas Fire. Our hearts go out to all of you affected in Mountain Fire.
Thank you so much, Kat. And how do people find you if they want to help, or if they want to see if there's help available?
LocalLoveProject.com, localloveproject.com, or you can, if you're a rancher or farmer and you want to talk about how helping your farm workers or what you might need yourself, feel free to just email me directly at totallylocalvc@gmail.com. That will go directly to me, totallylocalvc@gmail.com, and we can work one-on-one and see how we can help you or your workers.
Great. Thank you so much, Kat. Really appreciate you always jumping in. It's been amazing to see the rapidity of your response of your group. It's a really special skill and you're outstanding at it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We love our ag community.
Awesome. All right, let's go to Ventura Regional Fire Safe Council. Mason, are you available to jump in?
Yes, I am. Good morning. My name is Mason Thurmond. I'm the programs manager over at the Ventura Regional Fire Safe Council. Our executive director, Stephen Watson, apologize for not being able to make it, but I will try and cover a lot about what we do. We're a nonprofit. Fire Safe Councils formed in general to prepare against or prepare for wildfire. So a lot of our programming is really geared towards what's going on before the fire. It's not really response, and we are kind of currently figuring out what our role looks like in recovery. So I'm going to walk you through just some of our programs, just so you're aware of them. I don't know that a lot of them are going to be necessarily the most relevant thing to you right now. But for planning and rebuild process, I think a lot of it can be useful. So all of our programs are offered at no cost because we're grant funded. So we try to divert or like focus our efforts in areas where it's most needed because there are no costs, and so try to be equitable. But we do serve the whole county, and a lot of it is when interest is expressed to us, that's kind of where we deliver our programs. So those programs include chipping services, so that can be curbside or driving through a neighborhood. And in that case, we people are responsible for like clearing their own vegetation in advance or after defensible space clearance guidelines. So clearing all around the property. And then we just take care of that removal step for them. And we make sure that all of the chips go to compost and try to be a little bit more carbon responsible rather than just going in yard waste and whatnot. So chipping services we typically provide on like a neighborhood scale, and we are really open to collaboration. We're currently looking right now to see if we do have funds available and if our funders in the fire department and folks are interested in us working in the mountain fire footprint. So that's something we're kind of looking into. We provide free home hardening assessments. So and I think that those could be framed into more of like a consultation service where appropriate, like if there isn't a physical structure. So in that case, home hardening is the principle that there's a lot that you can do to protect the home physically in the case of a wind-driven wildfire. Besides house-to-house conflagration, studies show that homes are typically lost due to ember accumulation around like the base or certain areas in the home where maybe like leaf litter and things accumulate. So we do walkthroughs with residents at their home, and we have, a little iPad that generates a report for them, and we say, okay, these are kind of the priority changes. This is what's vulnerable about your house. This is what we would prioritize, etc. And so that can be really important for a home having increased survivability or resilience. We're looking right now at because we had data from assessments that were done in the Heights area. So we're looking right now to see, how that goes. And sometimes in hurricane force winds, these things we're learning kind of do go out the window a little bit because roof tiles are lifting up, and it's really hard to have something that's both, hurricane force wind and fire resistant. So anyway, the assessment or consultation could just be around like what building materials and what kind of building techniques are going to make a home more resilient. We also offer assistance with the Firewise USA community recognition process. So that's kind of a hot topic right now. I think there's a little bit more recognition or like familiarity with that program throughout the county. And it's administered not by us, but by the National Fire Protection Association. And it is also a no cost, completely voluntary program. It's often touted because it can get insurance benefits, but some insurance companies have found a way around that. And so the discount isn't always super sizable, but anecdotally, you do hear stories of people when they get that recognition, that Firewise USA recognition for their neighborhood, they either got a lower rate or they were offered a policy again. So the program itself can be for neighborhoods of just about any size. I think the range is like 8 to 2,500, and it relies on community intra-community like communication and working together. A lot of folks will use like an existing board of an HOA or POA, but a lot of other folks will just be neighbor to neighbor. They'll form a group. There's a few steps you have to go through. The main steps are going to be forming that group, creating a risk assessment of the neighborhood. So we assist with performing that risk assessment, and Ventura County Fire Department does, and I think the other fire departments could, but they're just a little bit over capacity and at many times. So anyhow, we will help to create this risk assessment of that neighborhood. We're identifying, okay, this hillside over here is really overgrown, or there is a dead tree overhanging these multiple houses. So the community risk assessments focuses on risks that apply to the whole community, maybe not just that are not just in one person's control, but many. And then from that risk assessment, a 3-year action plan is created where the community themselves are coming up with goals. We are going to get all of the numbers painted. Maybe the curbside numbers are not painted, they're address numbers. We are going to have 50% of our residents receive home hardening assessments, etc. So they have to create a 3-year action plan with achievable goals. They submit that to NFPA and CAL FIRE for approval, and then hopefully they get the recognition. That process is often confusing for folks, so we offer a lot of resources and staff to help them just walk through that process. We're not necessarily the ones saying yes or no, you get the recognition. We're just kind of a resource to help communities get to that point. Right now, we have 21 Firewise communities throughout Ventura County, and we're a little bit over 800 throughout the state of California. Like I said, insurance companies are taking note of it in a lot of ways, but that is a bit of a volatile industry, so it's hard to make any guarantees there. And yeah, that's Firewise. Lots of interest in it right now. We also do general education and outreach, so we provide presentations, educational presentations on either home hardening, defensible space. It can be on Firewise. What is the purpose of becoming wildfire resilient? What can you do about it? So we are currently working or in planning stages with the planning department in the city of Camarillo. And if there was other folks that were interested in maybe, putting on some type of presentation for landowners, homeowners, residents, etc. That is also something that we could do just to continue disseminating information. We have a lot of printed resources as well that can be useful. I guess somewhat lastly, we also do community wildfire protection plans. So those are I suppose it's CAL FIRE that typically wants to see them, and they're planning documents that can help communities and fire safe councils essentially apply for grants. And it says, it outlines the risk within their area. It outlines, they're kind of long documents typically. So we help in the writing of those. And yeah, I think that's just about everything. I'll pop our website into the chat. We do those we do Firewise workshops on Zoom monthly so that people can learn more about that program. And there's also quite a few links on our website if you want to chat with us, schedule a little one-on-one meeting with a particular staff member, or if you just have more specific questions about any of our programs, we can help you get set up with chipper events, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Emily Nye with the Ventura County RCD. I've been talking to several different growers who've been impacted by the fires. We have released a web page on Ventura RCD's website related to mountain fire recovery resources. So a lot of those are our community's resources. So Farm Bureau's collected resources from the Ag Commissioner's Office, from Fire Safe Council, from CoLab. But also on that website, we have a survey. It's a really quick, just like 5 questions asking for your contact information and a little bit about what your damages were. So that way, as the Ventura County RCD is applying for funding resources to help in your recovery, we're applying for the things that you actually need. So if you are a grower and even if you're not a grower, even if you're just a landowner or in any way was impacted by the mountain fire, if you do fill out that form, that will help us improve in the type of funding that we're going after for your recovery, fire recovery needs. So I'll post after we're done the web page related to the mountain fire recovery resources and that survey. Additionally, just with our partners, the NRCS, Natural Resources Conservation Service, we work with them pretty closely. So I thought I would do a little shout out for them since they're not on the call today. They have a post-fire specialist coming into town to do agricultural technical assistance on post-fire erosion control specifically. And so if you're a farmer or rancher who's particularly interested in getting the technical assistance on post-fire erosion control, please reach out to NRCS. You can reach out to me as well at the RCD, and I will get you into contact with them so you can try and get on that specialist schedule while they're here in town, because they're not a local individual, but they're here for several days to tour around those impacted by the mountain fire for ag and ranchers in the county.
Great. Thank you, Emily.
I realize I do have one thing to share if anyone's interested. It's related to some of the post-fire erosion control. The RCD is doing a project where we are hoping to survey on South Mountain. And this was a project that happened before the mountain fire. And the project is to see how some of the native plants and shrubs are doing on the mountain, because South Mountain seen 4 different fires within the last 20 years now, including the mountain fire. And so in some of those areas, those fires are so frequent that some of the shrubs that hold the soil together may be less abundant, but there's no way for us to know that without doing surveys. So we're partnering with TNC hopefully to do surveys in 2 of those fire scars to see what plants are coming back in those fire areas and determine if the shrublands are able to return from those frequent fires. So if any landowners on South Mountain who are concerned with erosion, who want to know what plants are coming back, and if, I guess specifically if if they're interested in shrubs coming back to some of their properties, please like reach out to me. My email is kevin.mason@vcrcd.org. I'm sorry, this program doesn't offer any recovery funds or effort, but some of the things that we learned from this project may be able to help landowners determine if the plants that are coming back on hillsides, if they could prevent erosion or not. So yeah, let me know if you want to be involved in that project. We're still seeking interest from landowners, but TNC on South Mountain has expressed interest, and I've also been speaking with the BLM, and I spoke with one rancher who was affected, and so yeah, we're doing this project, and yeah, if anyone's interested, please feel free to contact me.
Great, thanks, Kevin. Anybody else have questions or comments?
Hi, Maureen. Can I add something? This is Corinne.
Yes.
So one of the bits of feedback we got is about the Ag Pass program was that, you know, some people were not allowed entry. And we've since found that actually those that didn't weren't allowed access. It was either very, very early on and it was too dangerous to allow people in, or they didn't actually have an Ag Pass. And so I'd like to do another shameless pitch for the Ag Pass program. We are planning to do another in-person class in mid-January. We have not scheduled that yet, but we are working with County Fire to schedule that. And we offer that class in English and Spanish so that if you have workers that would need to access the property who are not English speaking, we provide that class and they can have their own pass. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, this was a program that was unique to Ventura County for many, many years. And it kind of came to a screeching halt in the Thomas Fire. Well, our program is up and running again, and we have two different kinds of passes. There's the incident specific pass, which actually this fire was the first time people took advantage of that. And also the pre-incident pass, which of course we are promoting that people get their passes in advance. There is a requirement to take a fire class. That class is offered online. But my understanding is if you take the online version, it can take up to 4 to 6 hours. So many people have opted for the in-person class, which we've hosted about, I guess we both hosted about 4 in the past year or so. So anyway, we will be having another class in January. We will advertise that. The space is usually fairly limited and they fill up quickly. So I just kind of want to give people on this call a notice. If you don't have an Ag Pass, was a very, the feedback was this program worked in this fire. And so I think it's important for people to get these passes and have them in case we get another fire or your fire comes to your area. So, and sadly, it looks like, this just keeps happening in our county. So, I think it's an important program, and a lot of people got some really good use out of it. So if you have any questions about our Ag Pass program, you can contact our office, and we were happy to provide that information for you.
Thanks,
Maureen.
Corinne. I would love to promote your classes whenever you have them. So if you can put me on your distribution list for people to send that out. I know the more we send it, hopefully the more likely people are to read their email and be able to make it to one of these classes, and really appreciate you putting those trainings on. And it's my understanding you've done trainings in Spanish in the past too, so it's something that can be available whether you would prefer to receive the information in English or Spanish.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yes, the online training is offered by, I believe, the either CAL FIRE or US Fire Service, and so it is available only in English, and that is part of the reason why we offer the in-person trainings, is that we can provide live translation during the training.
This is Dave again. I'll give you my phone number for folks, 805 654-2481 as another resource. And again, even if you want to just talk about scenarios and not mentioning your property, that is perfectly fine. Available to talk and understand what might be some issues that you're wanting to learn more about. And we can do that for completely informational purposes. I'm happy to do that. Thanks.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you to everyone who has made this webinar series successful. Been incredibly generous with your time, made it to multiple webinars that were scheduled not in consideration of your own availability, which is amazing and really shows the dedication that you have to help the ag community with their recovery efforts. So I'm going to start processing this recording and making it available online. And then I will distribute that to our community through our email address, which in turn gets all of these agencies that information, and they can distribute it to their communities as well. So thank you so much, everybody. And, I would just like to also extend a thank you to CoLab and the Ag Commissioners. They did a lot of the background work to make sure that the right people were on the calls. So thank you, and have a lovely day.